What's going on? I wanted to make a quick little video about Tekken. You know what I'm saying? I see a lot of newer players that either started in Tekken 7 or they started playing Tekken serious during Tekken 7, so they may have played Tekken Tag, but they felt like Tekken Tag 2 wasn't the game for them, so they started, grinding more so towards when Tekken 7 came out. Um, my advice is it's just straight like this. Tekken players are not they're not made usually in one game. You know what I'm saying? So like most of the players that y'all see placing, winning tournaments, doing really well, most of those players have been playing. Most of them have been playing a minimum of 5 to 6 years. You know what I'm saying? Most of them. Some of them have been playing longer. That's why when they say that Tekken is an old man's game, it's usually right, because in my opinion, Tekken is the even though it's a video game, Tekken is the game that's closest to actual fighting, because just like getting a black belt, it's all about experience and learning all the forms, and you know what I'm saying, like that's how Tekken is. Like it's so many things that go into the game. It's so many things that you have to learn, and so many things that you got to train yourself not to do and to do. And sometimes it takes years. Sometimes it takes several Tekken games. And now I say that because it seems like a lot of the newer players put a lot of pressure on themselves to do well, or they put a lot of like, this is something that I've seen like in the Michigan communities and I guess like the Midwest and shit, but like they have this thing where like they feel like they either want to catch up with the current players, or they feel like if they do good against a veteran player in one particular tournament or whatever, or they beat them a match or some shit like that, it's like they get like this little ego, you know what I'm saying, and oh yeah, well, it won't be too much long before I catch up to you guys, but that's not necessarily the case. You know what I'm saying? Like, tournaments are, it's first to two, and let's be honest, it's not hard to win a first to two. You know what I'm saying? Especially in a game like Tekken 7. The thing about it is it's about consistency. So when you put all this pressure on yourself to do well or to beat all these veteran players consistently, you setting yourself up for failure. Especially if the veteran players play just as much as you do. You know what I'm saying? Because you feel like, you're getting better or you're catching up, but you have to understand that they're constantly playing as well. So where they were at last week, they're not going to be at this week, especially if they're actually actively playing. It's just not going to, everybody's going to get better no matter how long they've been playing. So what, you may have beat them in the first of two or first set in the tournament or whatever, and then you like, oh yeah, I'm getting so much better. I'm getting so much better than these guys. I'm catching up. And then the next time you play, you get your back blown out, and it's not even close. Then you play them the next week after that, they blow your back out. You play them the next week after that, they blow your back out. And it's not about, when somebody would say, well, Adonis, you're supposed to be confident that you can win. This is true. But you have to also be humble at the same time, because being a newer player, that means there's going to be a ton of shit that you don't know. And you could practice for 40 hours, right? You can practice for literally 40 hours and think that you're doing some shit, or think you didn't master some shit, or figured out some shit that so and so hasn't seen. Little that like a player like me, I've been playing for 20 something years. You might practice something for 40 hours and do something to me one time, and I download it the first time I see it. You know what I'm saying? The very first time I see it, and I already know what to do because I've been playing for too long. So that one thing that you focused your game on, now that I've taken that away from you, you have nothing. You know what I'm saying? that's what happens when you don't have like you don't have depth to your game, and it sometimes it takes years and years and years of wins and losses and tournaments and practice and losing, and you know what I'm saying. It takes years and years and years to develop it, and it's just like it's crazy to put that much pressure on yourself as a newer player. Most of these players, most of the players that have been playing now, they had the ones that are good. They have been good since usually Tekken 6 or Tekken Tag 2. Some players, especially like the West Coast players and Anakin and some of the New York players and shit, they've been good at Tekken since before then. A lot of them have been good at Tekken since Tekken 5.0 or DR. Then you got other players, the old men players like me. We've been good at Tekken since 1999 or 1998, depending on which game we play. So you know what I mean. So it's like it's levels to this shit, and it doesn't mean that just because you've been playing so long that you're going to be this excellent player. That's not particularly the case, and that doesn't necessarily mean length of being a player doesn't equal skill. So you do have some players who come out of the woodworks who are newer players who are remarkable players, but even still, it takes a hell of a fucking grind. There are 40 something characters in Tekken. Every character has at least 60 moves. This isn't Street Fighter. You know what I'm saying? Like, it takes time to be able to block all that shit and defend all that shit and step this way and duck that high. And it's not, and that's just the character. That's not even breaking down how to fight the person in front of you. You feel me? So, like I said, it's literally like a martial art. You know what I'm saying? Learning how to be faster. Learning how to, some people backdash for no reason, for example. Like, some people think, well, if I practice my Korean backdash, that'll make me a better player. So I see all these players that can, they move and shit all across the screen, but they don't do anything with it. You know what I'm saying? Like, you can backdash just like a Korean can, but you don't do anything with the spacing. So you still, and they're like, well, how can I improve? Because they like, well, I can backdash. Too many people watch match videos, and they watch these match videos and they watch these Koreans and shit, and they kind of try to build their game around these players, but they don't even know why they do the things that they do. Like, if you're Korean backdashing, for example, and you're creating space, why are you creating space? You're creating space and you're going all the way in range 3 and range 4 and beyond for no reason. Niggas are doing things in front of you and they're out of range, and you're just looking at them. That's every young player. Most of the young players don't even have good reactions to even properly punish these days. I'll be honest with you. And I guess that's either from playing online or just not training themselves correctly on what to do in said scenarios. So it's always ways that you can improve in games, especially Tekken. So that's why I say, like, a lot of newer players put all this pressure on themselves, and they watch these match videos and watch these Koreans and shit like that. But you have to develop your own style. You know what I'm saying? You have to develop your own style. Always be humble. Always ask questions. You know what I'm saying? If somebody's trying to give you some advice, try to break down what they're talking about. You know what I'm saying? And just keep your mind open. You know what I'm saying? That's the most important thing. Just keeping your mind open. Paying attention to how you lose and learning from your mistakes. That's it. But it can take years and years and years to develop that, especially in modern Tekken. It's a lot of characters, a lot of players. It's a lot of crazy shit that people do. You may not, if you started in Tekken 7, you may not be a top player this Tekken. And that's okay. That's okay. Because it usually takes a minimum of 2 games for people to be a good player. Look at Joey Fury. There was a tournament brackets that I put up the other day in Tekken 5 DR, which was in 2006, and I think the tournament was in 2007 or 2008. And Joey Fury got like 60 something place. He was getting his back blew out back then. and now he's like a top 8 player in the country. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, and that's a long time. That was a long time. Now I don't know Joey Fury. I don't know if he consistently played throughout then, but even still, that was 12, 13 years ago. You know, and you know, Anakin is young, Hoa is young, but that he's a young OG. He's been around. You know, he's been playing at high level since he was a fucking a teenager. Not even a teenager. He would middle school. He was playing at high level. He's from Atlanta. They have a high player base there. Their skill level was high. You know, that's the thing about Tekken. The more players in your scene, the stronger that your scene can be, because when you have more players in the scene that actively play together, even if they are at a low skill level or a high skill level, if everybody plays each other, everybody challenges each other, everybody's skill level collectively goes up. You know, it's like a hive. It's like bees or some shit. When you have a smaller scene, and there's, you know, it's not as many players, even if you have a strong scene but there's only a few of you, it's still hard. It might be a little bit harder to get good in those communities, because you may not get the matchup experience, because you may have those type of players that only play 1 or 2 characters, and you know what I'm saying. So like, but he's from that Atlanta scene, and there's I don't even know how many players are down there. It's over 50 or 60 players down there. Like, it's crazy down there, and that's the scene that he's from. And it's, when you're a part of some shit like that, it's you know, even down there, even in Atlanta, there are players that y'all niggas never seen before that are godlike or even good or on a come up, but you're not gonna, some of those players that just started at 7, y'all not gonna see them right now. Y'all not gonna see them dominating right now, because it's gonna take them years and years and years to develop their game before you really see them out here. And it's just it be like that sometimes, you know. So like, be patient, be humble. You might not be the man until Tekken 8 come out, and that's fine. You know what I'm saying? Just hang in there, grind, perfect your shit now. And I'm gonna say this to all the budding Tekken players as well. Tekken, I'm gonna tell you why Tekken is the best game overall. Better than Street Fighter, better than Mortal Kombat, better than Soul Calibur, better than all these other games. Tekken consistently uses almost, I'm not going to say uses almost the same engine, but Tekken basics have been the same since 1997. So that's 22 years now. The Korean backdash has been in the game since Tekken 3. It was in the game in Tekken Tag. They removed it in Tekken 4. They brought it back in Tekken 5. It's been there in Tekken DR, 6 Bloodline Rebellion, 7, whatever the FR shit was, but it's consistently been in the game. Now, some engine tweaks are in Tekken. Sometimes they change the combo system. They add bounds or tail spins and shit like that. But for the most part, every Tekken release still is built around the fucking Tekken engine. You know what I'm saying? So if you were playing Tekken 15 years ago, it still translates to current Tekken. Street Fighter doesn't do that. What Street Fighter was out 15, 20 years ago? Third Strike. When Third Strike came out in 99, and then Street Fighter 4 came out in 2008 on the arcade, they didn't translate to each other. The only thing that translates is Kid and Ryu still in the game, and you throwing Hadoukens and doing Dragon Punches, but it's not the same game. They played Street Fighter 4 all those years, and then Street Fighter 5 came out. Street Fighter 4 didn't translate to Street Fighter 5. It's a totally different game. Look at Mortal Kombat 9. Mortal Kombat 9 didn't translate to Mortal Kombat X. And Mortal Kombat X doesn't translate to Mortal Kombat 11. Look at Soul Calibur. Soul Calibur 4 don't translate to Soul Calibur 5. It's two different defensive systems. You know, you still had the fucking guard impact, and now you had just guard. And now look at Soul Calibur 6. Soul Calibur 5 doesn't translate to 6. Yeah, some of the moves are the same, but now they went back to the GI system, and now it's a universal GI system, and now they got reversal edge. You know what I'm saying? Tekken is usually the same shit. They might add, you know, they added like armor moves and, you know, like tracking moves. You know, you see the little glow now, and they got the little rage drives and rage arts, and they kind of added some crazy shit to it. But it's still like 85% of the same fucking engine. You feel me? That's why if you're going to play Tekken, if you're going to invest in being a Tekken player, you know, it's some players that they're intimidated by Tekken, and they feel like it's either too late or For whatever reason, they just don't want to put the work in. But if you put the work in Tekken, I guarantee you will be playing in this community for a long time, because Tekken is not going anywhere. It's not going nowhere. Tekken is the to me is the staple of today's FGC. I don't care what nobody says. It started in '99 when Tekken Tag Tournament came out. That's when all the forums and shit came out. That's when the community expanded online. Tekken Zaibatsu is the reason why we have a Shoryuken. You know what I'm saying? Like, so Tekken is not going nowhere. If you got older people like me, 18, 20 years later, still playing, and you know what I'm saying, you got all these older people in the community and shit, just know that if you're a young, aspiring Tekken player, that it's not going nowhere. So if you want to get into a game, get into Tekken, because Tekken is not going nowhere. They're not changing it. They may add some crazy shit the next game, but everything that you learned is going to transfer to the next game. And if you keep playing this current game and a new game comes out, you will be ahead of the curve. And then one day you're going to be the OG, and you're going to be looking at these newer players, you know, cry about matchups, cry about this, cry about how they can get better, and you have already had put the time in. You know what I'm saying? Because you grinded the last games. You know, now at that point, the only thing that you learning now is the new moves, and you learning how to fight against the new characters. That's it. Once you build yourself up in these Tekken games, and you got that knowledge of how to play and how to compete and how to be at top level, the only thing you're doing is you're learning how to fight against the new moves of the current characters, and you're learning how to fight the old characters. Oh, I'm sorry, the new characters. That's it. That's the entire game. And every game, you just keep applying that same principle. Yeah, you can get better, you can get faster, you can still improve your core, the core elements of your game. But at that point, you're just adding to that. You're just adding to the layers. But that's all I wanted to really talk about, though. New players, just stop putting all that pressure on yourself. It's unnecessary. It's a lot of unrealistic shit. If you started playing Tekken 7 in 2017 and you expect to be this top player, you expect to be a Majin, or, you know what I'm saying, if you're an aspiring girl, you want to be the next Cuddle. You know, it's you know, like Shadow and them, like Shadow's young, right? And Speed Kicks, they're young, but they've been playing for years. You can't look at age. You have to look at years playing and actually being in the trenches. So be realistic, be humble, be open. Just because you beat somebody 2-0 in the tournament or whatever, some OG, you know, because all the new kids want to beat the OGs and shit, and I'm catching up and all this stuff. Just take it one tournament at a time. Just because you beat them last week don't mean you beat them this week, don't mean you beat them next week before. You could have got lucky. You could have been playing better that day. They can come back stronger the next week. You know what I'm saying? And that's how people fall apart, and that's how people lose it. You have to take it one match at a time, 1 week at a time, and just keep progressing from there. But that's all I wanted to say, though. I kind of went a little bit longer than I wanted to, but I had to get all my points out. So, but y'all have a good one. I watched a little bit of Strong Style. It was a pretty good tournament. Evil is up next, so it's in 3 weeks. So I know everybody is going to be training and practicing and getting their final practice in for the next couple of weeks online and everything, and the locals and shit to get ready for Evo. If y'all want to know, you know, some tips on what to practice for, how to practice, what you should be looking for and shit like that, you know, I can provide some tips and or whatnot. Some of the things that I use to be able to fight against characters, ways that you can fight, you know, you can fight somebody one round and figure them out. You know, it's like an analyzation thing that you have to do. But I'll get at y'all next time. Yep.